Socialists!
Clear, huh? So how do we decide who's right? Well, it turns out we don't really have to flip a coin. We have the evidence. In 2024, 13 Democrats won in districts Trump also won, all moderates. This isn't rocket science. All the left-leaning think tanks have done autopsies on 2024, and they all came up with the same message: move to the center. Even the New York Times, which did so much to promote woke politics, now says the partisans are wrong. Moving to the center is the way to win. Here's capitalist South Korea at night from space. Here's socialist North Korea. Yeah. In 1990, Venezuela was wealthier than Poland. But then Poland, finally free of Soviet-style economics, went all in on capitalism. And now their economy is as big as Japan. And people there have high wages, low inflation, cars, vacations, homes. Meanwhile, Venezuela traded capitalism for Hugo Chavez's Socialism for the 21st Century, which turned out to be like socialism in the last century or any century of mess.
Bill Maher appears to be the lone voice refusing to sip the Manny fan club juice, consistently blasting him for pushing an extreme left agenda. Manny just snagged the New York mayor's seat and is preparing to roll out a lineup of aggressive campaign promises. But Maher warns these plans could blow up in the Democrats' faces, and he's raising the red flag loudly. Brace yourselves, folks. This is about to get intense.
Democrats must recognize that Zohran Mamdani is the future of the party. Unfortunately, it's the Republican Party. Get it? And if you missed his victory speech in last week's mayoral election in New York, don't worry. You'll see it in every attack ad for the next 2 years. Now, Mamdani seems like a nice guy, and I congratulate him on an extraordinary political achievement. But before the whole left side of the country catches socialism fever, let's listen to the other big winner in last Tuesday's election, Virginia Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger, who, before the 24 election, said things like, if the party didn't shift to the center, we will get fucking torn apart. And we need to never use the word socialist or socialism ever again.
Maher kicked things off by cautioning that putting Mamdani in charge of New York could become the moment that hands the 2028 election directly to the GOP. To him, Mamdani isn't just leaning left. He's a full-scale socialist pushing proposals like no-cost food markets, slashing police budgets, free city buses, and a long lineup of heavy government-funded projects. Maher said that while these ideas excite the ultra-progressive part of the Democratic crowd, they clash sharply with the rest of the country. Many millennials, older voters, and moderates nationwide still view anything carrying the socialist label with suspicion or flat-out alarm. And from Maher's perspective, tying the Democratic brand to Mamdani's vision is political self-destruction waiting to unfold. Instead of drawing in voters, it could drive away the exact groups Democrats depend on to win. Over time, Maher believes this path could blow up in dramatic fashion.
Well, she was right, but they didn't listen. Typical, am I right, ladies? Well, at least the party has a clear choice here, very clear. One wing is saying don't ever use the word socialist again, and one is saying,
I am a democratic socialist!
Clear, huh?
Zohran's hard push for socialist-style plans has clearly lit a fire under the party's younger Gen Z crowd, who are backing him like he's some kind of modern-day savior. They view his platform as daring, new, and transformative. But older Democrats? They don't want to hear even a whisper of socialism. To them, it's political toxicity, something that has already dragged the party down more than once. And just like that, the Democrats are split right down the center. One side pushing for a full socialist blueprint, the other scrambling to drag the party back toward moderation. Two passionate groups, two clashing directions, and one political organization edging toward a meltdown. So the real question is, how do they move ahead without collapsing? Maher steps in with a sharp dose of realism, telling Democrats they need a plan that won't drive away the rest of the nation. In his view, staying alive politically takes discipline, not daydreams.
So how do we decide who's right? Well, it turns out we don't really have to flip a coin. We have the evidence. In 2024, 13 Democrats won in districts Trump also won, all moderates. This isn't rocket science. All the left-leaning think tanks have done autopsies on 2024, and they all came up with the same message: move to the center. Even the New York Times, which did so much to promote woke politics, now says the partisans are wrong. Moving to the center is the way to win. And Democrats should recognize the party moved too far left on social issues after Obama left office. Gosh, if only someone had been saying that all along.
According to Maher, the only real path to survival for the Democratic Party is to ditch the fringe left-wing fantasies that have swallowed the party whole and steer themselves back toward the political center. He argues that Democrats have wasted way too much time chasing ideas that thrill Twitter activists, but push away the very voters they need to win national elections. Maher says the party needs to stop obsessing over ideological experiments and performative battles, and instead refocus on the issues that actually keep everyday Americans awake at night: rising living costs, public safety, education, healthcare, and economic stability. These are the concerns that resonate with workers, parents, seniors, and moderates all across the country. In Maher's view, the problem isn't that Democrats lack solutions. It's that they've allowed themselves to get distracted by loud, unnecessary policy fights that don't reflect real-world priorities. And the sooner they abandon that detour, he warns, the better their chances of long-term political survival.
But, welcome home. Problem is, Gen Z thinks socialism's wired and capitalism's tired and billionaires are what's for dinner. And who can blame them? If you're 30 and still sharing a bathroom with roommates, capitalism isn't working for you. People will reject any economic system where there's strange hair on the soap.
I don't blame Gen Z because many older voices never gave them a full or balanced picture. Instead of offering proper context about history and geopolitics, they allowed distorted narratives to shape how young people see the world. Many Gen Zers have adopted extremely polarized views on the Israel-Palestine conflict, shaped more by simplified stories than a real understanding of the complexities involved. They've been taught revisionist versions of American history that portray leaders like Lincoln and George Washington as irredeemable instead of recognizing them as complex figures who shaped the nation. Some have even come to believe that Palestine is a better, freer, more just country than the United States, an idea that collapses the moment you look at the actual realities on the ground. So am I surprised that they're embracing socialism with such enthusiasm? Not at all. When the truth becomes blurred and the past gets distorted, unrealistic ideologies can take root easily.
No one wants to be approaching middle age and still writing their name on food before they put it in the fridge. So they're quiet quitting capitalism and texting socialism that they're down to fuck. Thing is, socialism will fuck you. Because socialism, to put it simply, just doesn't work and has never worked. Like Kevin Federline.
Socialism has struggled almost everywhere it's been tried, and critics warn New York could face the same problems. You don't need a political scientist or economist to see it. Anyone paying attention can spot the cracks forming before the experiment even starts. The promises sound big, the slogans are loud, but the results never match the rhetoric. And already, Mamdani is trying to pull New York away from federal funding, working to build a financial bubble he controls so he won't have to answer to Washington, especially not to Donald Trump. But critics say this exposes a major weakness. If the system becomes shaky the moment federal support disappears, sustainability becomes a real question. Instead of building a stronger, more stable city, Mamdani looks determined to prove a point, even if it pushes New York into political and economic trouble.
The kids think that stuff that happened before their appearance on the planet didn't really happen, but it did. We've run this experiment many times, and the results are always obvious. Here's capitalist South Korea at night from space. Here's socialist North Korea. Yeah. In 1990, Venezuela was wealthier than Poland. But then Poland, finally free of Soviet-style economics, went all in on capitalism. And now their economy is as big as Japan. And people there have high wages, low inflation, cars, vacations, homes. Meanwhile, Venezuela traded capitalism for Hugo Chavez's Socialism for the 21st century, which turned out to be like socialism in the last century or any century, a mess.
And critics warn that this is exactly what could happen to New York if Mamdani keeps moving in this direction. Instead of becoming a showcase for progressive innovation, the city could turn into a cautionary tale. Another example critics use when explaining why socialist-style policies struggle in real life. If Mamdani keeps pushing ideas that drain resources, weaken public safety, and stretch the city's finances to the edge, New York could end up on every list of what not to do. And the political fallout won't stop there. You can already imagine the tension building between Mamdani and the governor, each fighting for control and claiming the moral high ground. That power struggle alone could throw the state into turmoil, creating confusion, gridlock, and non-stop clashes over whose vision wins. If this continues, New York could become the leading example of socialism's damaging results.
It seems to me that there are two pillars that this country is founded on. One is democracy, and one is capitalism, free markets. And it seems like one party wants to get rid of one, and the other party wants to get rid of the other. Right? The Republicans are not that, democracy is just not number one on their list. It just isn't. It isn't. It's behind Christianity and a few other things. And the Democrats, I mean, I read these, 74% are for democratic socialism. Only 16% favor capitalism. Is this going to be a country that I don't recognize in 5 to 10 years if we don't have these two pillars?
I don't side with Bill Maher or Republicans on everything, especially when they launch into non-stop doom and gloom speeches about democracy. But on this point, Maher is absolutely right. The DNC is drifting deeper into full-blown socialism. And this isn't the first time he's raised the alarm. Remember when Maher warned that Democrats would lose last year's elections if they didn't drop the constant woke theatrics? He practically begged them to shift back to real issues instead of chasing social media applause. They ignored him, and his prediction came true. The DNC didn't just lose, they were crushed. Now Maher is sounding a new warning, this time about Mamdani and the party's growing obsession with fringe leftist ideology. And once again, no one in Democratic leadership seems to care. They look ready to repeat the same mistakes, even if it drags the entire party straight off a cliff.
Remember the woman when Trump won the first time? She was like, no. It was like an iconic, she was with her glasses.
Vaguely,
if Mamdani wins, I'm going to remake that video in New York.
Oh, that's funny.
Because that's how I'll feel.
What will you say if he gets into office and says, look, the Palestinian thing is being settled. I'm now the mayor of New York. I don't want to talk about that anymore. So if you ask me any questions about Palestine, I'm the mayor of New York. I have feelings about it. I have opinions.
Great.
They're right.
You shouldn't talk about it.
Well, I seriously doubt Mamdani will back off any of the policies he championed during his campaign. He built his entire political identity on those promises. And now he's trapped into delivering them no matter how unrealistic, impractical, or flat-out unworkable they may be. At this stage, reversing course would be politically disastrous. He knows that if voters start to think he tossed out big feel-good pledges just to earn applause and rack up support, he's done. His whole brand depends on proving that his radical proposals aren't just slogans, but can somehow function in the real world. So rather than adapt to reality, he'll likely double down, hoping sheer determination hides the cracks in his plans. But that gamble could explode in his face. If voters eventually see they were sold empty promises, Manny's career won't just suffer, it'll be toast.
It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party
I think
nationally.
the Republicans are going to...
When you let the Democrats, socialists, and now they're actually calling themselves socialists, when you let them take over a major American city, this is what you get. The state-run grocery stores, which work so well in Cuba and the Soviet Union and Venezuela, Just bad ideas.
In the end, Democrats are standing at a crossroads, and the choices they make now will shape their future for years ahead. With Mamdani pushing hardline socialist ideas, rallying Gen Z, and clinging to his most divisive positions, the party is risking internal turmoil and outside criticism all at once. Bill Maher's warnings aren't just commentary. They're a blunt look at a party drifting away from the very voters it needs to stay alive. From policy overreach to ideological tunnel vision, the signals are impossible to miss. Tension between young radicals and older moderates, big promises that may never materialize, and strategic errors opponents will use without hesitation. Democrats can either adjust course, zero in on issues that matter to everyday Americans, and move back toward the center, or they can stick with fantasy politics and watch their influence crumble. At this pace, the fallout could be severe. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.